So here we're going to cover at an introductory level how data is organized within a FAT32 file system. We're going to move through this in several sections so we can have time to digest and work through this slowly. And now to get started with this demonstration, I had previously created a FAT32 file system and put a little bit of data in there, 2 PDFs to be specific. So we're going to continue to use X-Ways forensics, and we're going to move through different sections of the tool to help us give the best opportunity to move through the data more effectively. So let's follow along. So taking a look here, we can see that we're at our master boot record, and we're going to move down towards our starting LBA sector offset. These little highlights here that say starting LBA sector offset is because positions are still loaded into my tool from previous videos and work. Yours very well may not have those positions present unless you save those position files. So we can see here that our starting LBA sector offset still listed at 128. So let's go right here to our sector 0 and type in 128. That right here is going to bring us to our volume boot record. And in a previous video, we had worked to document our actions and break down that volume boot record. Now, let's switch our tool just a little bit to give ourselves a little bit different of a navigational view. I'm going to go up here to our partition 1. And what it's going to do is it's still going to keep us hanging here at our volume boot record. But it's going to switch it to sector 0 relative to the partition that we're in. Again, the reason why I'm doing this is not to create any sort of confusion. It's actually to kind of give us a little bit different of a viewing angle for our go to sector capabilities. With anything in X-Ways, there's multiple ways to address this. So when we're looking at the FAT32 file system under this light, what we can see here is we're right here in our volume boot record. But if we start to navigate our way down just a little bit, we can see that right after the volume boot record, we enter a section called the reserved sector. Now, let's taking a look at our reading. We know that after the volume boot record is the reserved sectors, and then from there, we're moving on to be able to find the FAT1 table. So we're going to continue on and continue moving down. We can see that it is a number of sectors after that. They're generally empty. But we know that if we continue on, we will eventually find it. So you can continue to move through here. There are techniques with X-Ways to find the first characters that aren't zeros. But for the purposes of this demonstration, I'm going to go ahead and navigate to 6670 because to start off, I had figured out that this was the start of the FAT1 table. Now we also know that in a FAT32 file system there are two FATs, FAT1 and FAT2. FAT1 comes immediately after the reserved sector, and FAT2 follows immediately after the end of FAT1. FAT2's main job is to serve as a backup or a mirror to FAT1. So they should be essentially the same at all times. Now that we're sitting at the FAT1 starting position at sector 6670 for this specific file system, again, if you're looking at something a little bit different, it certainly could be different. But now that we're at that starting position of this particular FAT1, what we're going to do here is we're going to further adjust our tool. So if you go up to Options, go to General, and then switch our bytes per line from 16 width 0 through 9/8 ref to 4, we're going to give ourselves a little bit different of an outlook here. The reason why I did this is because with each successive FAT file system, 12, 16, 32, each entry in the FAT requires more bits. So 8 bits in a byte, we know that to get up to 32, we would need 4 bytes. So that means we have a 4-byte width that we can set our tool up for, and that means that each successive entry will be kind of right up against each border. So it's this is an entry, this is an entry, this is an entry, and so on and so forth. So it's just a way to kind of use your tool to your best advantage, changing the view and manipulating it based on the particular job that you're working with. In the next video, we're going to walk through how this is organized and what some of this information means.